Hi, back again with Recap Cinema, back again in storyline movie content. Today I want to invite you to listen to the storyline of the film starring Eddie Murphy, in 2012. The title is 1,000 Words. Let's go, we start. The film begins with a man who is watering a tree, who looks like he is about to die. You can see from the leaves, which are few. Here, he can't talk much, because if he talks too much, he will die. Why is that? Let's find out. This film is about Jack McCall, a professional book publishing agency. As an agent, Jack's life is fairly successful. He has children and a wife, and a big house, cool cars, a good position at work, and so on. Jack's success, supported by his speaking talent, which earned him lots of big deals, for book publishing. For example, when he was in the meeting room, Jack explains about the figure of Dr. Sinya, a spiritual teacher who is famous, and has many followers. From the figure of Dr. Sinya, Jack wants to get a deal with him so that he can publish a book that he thinks will sell well in the market. His friends are pessimistic about Jack's plan, who wants to get a contract with Dr. Sinya, but Jack arrogantly says, if he can talk to anyone, and that person will do anything for him.
I'm Jack McCall. This is what I do. Hey, I can talk anybody into doing anything.
Jack arrived at Dr. Sinya's place. So that he could talk to Dr. Sinya, Jack took his spiritual class, although it wasn't serious. When he carried out his ruse, in order to talk to Dr. Sinya in person, he immediately explained his arrival. He offers Dr. Sinya to publish his book, so Dr. Sinya can expand his influence to the outside world. But unfortunately, Dr. Sinya is not interested. Dr. Sinya invited Jack to continue the conversation in his garden. He was so fun talking. Jack had touched a tree, and Jack's finger was injured. It was as if he was bitten by the tree. Jack shouted, "This tree bit me." Sinya's doctor also said it was impossible. Trees don't have teeth. For that, he just stayed there. Then Sinya's doctor reiterated that he didn't want to make books to sell. Jack, who doesn't give up easily, uses his speaking talent to convince Dr. Sinya to publish his book through Jack's company. Finally, with his super speaking powers, Dr. Sinya agrees. Jack, who was celebrating his success, went to meet his mother at a nursing home. Jack also talked to his mother, that he got a big contract for his company. What you should know, here his mother has senile disease, and always thinks Jack is Raymond, her dead husband. Jack always insists to his mother, that he is Raymond, because he had his own hatred for his father when he was little. Jack, who was sad, excused himself and went home. During dinner, his wife invited Jack to move to a house that had a new environment. Jack prefers to stay in his big house. When they were arguing, there was a magic tree that suddenly grew in his backyard, which made a great shaking effect, like an earthquake. Jack was surprised to see a tree could suddenly appear on the ground of his house. Then he remembered that this was the tree that bit him when he was in the park with Dr. Sinya. The next morning while at the office, Aaron, Jack's assistant, told him that Sinya's doctor had sent his book. Jack was surprised when Aaron told him that the book that Sinya had sent only had 5 pages. He immediately went to see Dr. Sinya and asked about the book which only had 5 pages. Angry, to the point that he discussed the tree that Dr. Sinya sent to him. Dr. Sinya was confused about this tree problem. He was immediately taken to Jack's house to witness for himself the tree that Jack said grew suddenly. The two of them also paid close attention to this tree. Sinya's doctor realized something caught his attention because this one branch had no leaves. Sinya's doctor also ordered Jack to say something while looking at the tree. Sinya's doctor said, "This is my dream." Jack, who didn't understand, at first finally realized, if every time he spoke one word, a leaf would fall from the tree. Sinya's doctor thought, if Jack and the tree were connected, or connected one another. If Jack continues to talk, then the tree will run out of leaves, and if the leaves run out then the tree will die. Maybe so did Jack. Jack, who didn't believe the proverb, decided to chop down the tree with an axe. But when he did, he too bounced away, and his body had scratches on it.
Timber!
Jack forces Sinya's doctor to fix this all, because this is a tree that comes from his garden. But Dr. Sinya said that this is the first time he has witnessed an incident like this, and can't do anything about it. What Dr. Sinya can do is go to Bolivia to ask his friend, who is more skilled, but it took him 3 days, so he told Jack to keep quiet, until he returned from his journey. Because the leaves on the tree there were approximately 1,000 more leaves left, finally Jack agreed to it. The next day, a new day began for Jack. Jack was no longer a talkative person, no more talk came out of Jack's mouth. He began to communicate with sign language. Like ordering coffee at Starbucks, talking to the therapist using sign language, even when in his office, he also doesn't dare to say a word. Unfortunately for Jack, that day in his office there was an important guest from France. The guest only told him to tell him about his success on a book contract with Dr. Sinya. But Jack could only speak a word, 2 words, which surprised his superiors. Plus, in his house there is a pair of squirrels playing, climbing the tree trunk. Because Jack and the tree are connected, he also feels ticklish all over his body. At the same time, at a meeting with another client, Jack asks for Aaron's help to speak on his behalf, in front of the client. Aaron even ruined everything with his childish attitude. Second bad luck for Jack, his gardener at home splashed the tree with water, which left Jack soaking wet, in the middle of the meeting. Jack failed to get an agreement with the client. Jack's ordeal that day was not over. At night, when he was at home, his wife approached him, and invited him to speak. But because Jack can't talk much, his wife gets annoyed. Because he always misunderstood Jack's sign language meaning. He, who couldn't stand this situation, tried to call Dr. Sinya, who was still in Bolivia. The confused one also confides in his friend, because it is Jack who doesn't want to talk to him. His friend thought, maybe Jack and his wife lack time alone, and need a honeymoon. Then later, his friend suggested to Jack's wife, to do something different. Jack arrived at the hotel, met his wife. Jack was surprised. It turned out that his wife asked for sex, with a naughty concept. But everything didn't go according to plan, because Jack was still afraid to say a word, for fear that his wife was angry. Jack finally tried to explain about the fawn, and himself. But alas, Jack's wife just thought it was bullshit. When leaving the hotel, Jack gets a call from Aaron, that his boss is meeting with the company board, to discuss the Sinya Doctor's book. What Jack has not told his boss is that the Sinya Doctor's book only has 5 pages, so Jack quickly goes to the meeting that. Bad luck for the umpteenth time for Jack. While attending the meeting, the tree in his house was being smoked with pest spray. Jack, who was still connected to the tree, was coughing drunkenly, and hallucinating. That also caused Jack to act silly, and disrespectful at meetings attended by important company people. The situation was made worse, when the assistant leadership came with a sample of Sinya's doctor's book, which only had 5 pages, the meeting immediately disbanded. And Jack was fired. Jack finally tried to explain to Aaron, related to the problem with the tree using the blackboard. Jack explained this to Aaron. Jack then told Aaron to watch over the tree, while he was doing good outside. Hope, by doing good to others, curses it could stop. But because it wasn't based on sincerity, no matter what Jack did, the leaves still fell. Because of the incident at the hotel, and the communication was not good anymore. Jack's wife left Jack alone at home. And took his son away. Jack finally met Sinya's doctor, and explained all the misfortunes that had befallen him. Because of that tree, his household was destroyed, he was fired, and his health condition declined. Dr. Sinya didn't even get an answer regarding this. Dr. Sinya could only advise Jack, to find the truth about himself, using the remaining time. Dr. Sinya says maybe with this silence, Jack can find some peace. Not by talking a lot, but with his thoughts. Dr. Sinya added, maybe this is an opportunity for Jack to prove that he loves his family, not just by talking like fallen leaves from the tree, but also shown by attitude. Jack was angry with Sinya's doctor, and told him to stop talking. After his meeting with the Dr. Sinya, Jack looks lost. He returns home with a heavy hangover. Aaron, his former assistant, arrives, worried about his condition. Jack, who was in a very chaotic condition, finally got angry with the tree, until he hit the tree with a bottle. It didn't stop there, he also said a song, and sang as freely as possible. Aaron scolded him, and prevented him from talking more.
Stop! But you know what? Cause I got bad luck! Yeah, Jack, don't drink a number, cause that shut up! Number's hot, temper will check, everything, you got bad luck, stop working!
And by attacking from behind, Aaron managed to make Jack faint. Before leaving Jack's house, Aaron covered Jack's mouth, to remind him not to say any more. And we can see here, because of the mess for a while, the leaves on the tree are really few. The next morning, Jack woke up and looked at the tree. He was sad, cried, and realized that his life was not long. Because when the leaves on the tree run out, then Jack's life ends. When he watered the tree, the phone rang. It turned out to be from the nursing home where his mother was being cared for. The nurse told Jack that his mother wanted her husband Raymond to come. As we know at the beginning, Jack's mother always thought Jack was her husband. Jack hung up the phone, and continued to attack the tree. At the same time, he saw the 5-page book that Dr. Sinya wrote. Jack read it, and got enlightenment from there. The rest of the time, Jack did something different than usual. He tries to make peace with himself. Jack started the day by visiting his wife and children. When his wife spoke, Jack cut in, and tried to say something as sparingly as possible. Which could be, those were his last words.
You, me, we, eternity.
Next, Jack went to his regular Starbucks, and gave an original The Beatles record to the waiter, who used to serve him. Jack knew that the waiter was a big fan of the Beatles. The gift was gladly accepted. Jack continued on his way to the office. It turns out that what Jack did was, try to sell the book that his office parking attendant always offered. Jack always didn't have time to read it, and that day, he read the man's draft, and managed to get a $10,000 contract. That person is also happy not playing. On that day, he also went to visit his mother. This time, when his mother thought of Jack as Raymond, her husband, Jack did not deny it. As usual, Jack chose to dispel that notion, and began to sit and listen intently to his mother's story. Something he had never done before. Turns out her mother just wanted to tell her husband, who was gone, that she was lucky to have Jack. She probably couldn't survive without Jack, and Jack was the reason she was alive. Until finally, he realized that in front of him was Jack, his son. Not her husband. After that, Jack left, and said that he really loved his mother. The last 3 leaves remain. Jack Poo went on a pilgrimage to his father's grave. He tried to make peace with himself, and tried to forgive his father's past mistakes. Jack said, "I forgive you." The leaves on the tree were gone. And Jack fell to the ground. After a while, Jack apparently didn't die. Aaron called him, and said that the tree that was dying, now has thick leaves. And Jack has once again had the opportunity to leave his old self, and was born with a new person. He also wrote a book called 80,000 Word, and Get High Sales, under his former secretary, who has become an agent to replace Jack. He thanks Dr. Sinya, and they part ways. In the last scene, Jack surprises his wife by buying a house that his wife suggests to Jack at the beginning of the story. His wife was happy, they returned to live together, and happy ending. Thank you for watching. And see you in the next video. See you in the next video. I gotta go, bye.